John Cena is one of the most influential wrestlers ever, with a legendary career spanning over a decade or so. There's no doubt that when all is said and done, he would forever be in conversations as to who the greatest of all time is, alongside Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Roman Reigns. In late 2002, Cena would enter the most important phase of his storied career. Without this gimmick, the John Cena we know and love today might have never even existed. This is a look back at the Doctor of Thuganomics.
So, you think you're untouchable?
Cena was never earmarked to be the guy from the very start. In fact, mere months after his debut in 2002, he was already on the brink of getting fired after failing to get over with the fans. He told this story himself on an episode of the Ruthless Aggression series. But then, something happened that would change the trajectory of his career and of the WWE forever. On one fateful road trip, his supposedly final one before being let go in fact, Cena was freestyle rapping with Rikishi and Rey Mysterio when Stephanie McMahon of all people heard this and was so impressed that he asked John if he could do it on live TV. He agreed to it and sure enough, on the Halloween episode of SmackDown that year, John Cena would appear in a backstage segment dressed up as Vanilla Ice and started dropping freestyles to everyone, particularly to Stephanie McMahon. And with this one segment, the Doctor of Thuganomics gimmick was born. John Cena turned heel and is now a wannabe rapper who cuts his promos while rapping. He started dissing his opponents in freestyle rap like he's the second coming of Eminem.
When she's done stealing from you, she comes to tickle my funny bones.
More and more, as the weeks go by, we'd see his character evolve and his confidence grew with it. He ditched his generic ass trunks and started wearing outfits that fit his new character, which made him stand out. I mean, a guy wrestling in jorts and sneakers looked ridiculous at the time, but he owned it and has now become an iconic look. He would also change his generic ass music to a rap beat, which later evolved into his basic Thuganomics one. Side note, I think basic Thuganomics is superior to the timeless now. I still wish he kept it longer. I don't know, tell me in the comments which one you think is the better song. John Cena's newfound gimmick would get him into feuds with Rikishi and Los Guerreros as he made his way up the card. Around this time, Cena was also paired with an enforcer of sorts in Bull Buchanan, who was repackaged as B Squared. He was shortly replaced by Rodney Mack, who was now called Red Dog. Oddly enough, he only made one appearance as Cena's bodyguard before being moved to Raw. Cena was slowly creeping up to the main event scene when he started calling out the WWE champion Brock Lesnar. They'd have a match on SmackDown and Brock completely destroyed Cena, F5ing him into the ring post. This put Cena out of commission for a brief time, and when he came back, he'd debut his new finishing move which he dubbed the FU, obviously as a rib to Lesnar's F5. At WrestleMania 19, Cena was supposed to have a rap battle with Jay-Z and Fabulous, but the whole thing fell through and he ended up just rapping to cardboard cutouts. A shame because it would have been a cool moment, but hey, at least we got this line.
Just a bad idea, like the XFL.
Post-WrestleMania, John Cena would get his biggest break yet when he won a number 1 contenders tournament for Brock's championship, defeating the likes of Eddie Guerrero, The Undertaker, and Chris Benoit along the way. So, at Backlash 2003, it was Brock Lesnar versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. Other than Brock Lesnar bleeding, this was a pretty standard match with a predictable outcome. It wasn't John Cena's time, at least not just yet, and Brock Lesnar beat him to retain the WWE Championship. Even though he lost, Cena would bounce back immediately, racking up win after win, and he would carry this momentum as the Doctor of Thuganomics began feuding with the Deadman. Fun fact, this was the only proper feud these two all-time greats would have, as they'd end up having just 6 singles matches throughout their careers, the last one of course being their match at WrestleMania 34. It's crazy to think that the two icons never met at the peak of their primes, but this is due to both men being on different brands for the most part. Anyway, John Cena and The Undertaker would face each other at Vengeance 2003. Although Cena put up a good fight, his showboating would ultimately lead to his downfall as Taker would get the win, but Cena definitely earned the Deadman's respect this night. They'd have one more match, this time on SmackDown, and Cena would get his win back, albeit with some shenanigans. After his feud with Taker, Cena would go after Eddie's United States Championship. This was actually a short but fun feud. They had this Latino street fight match, which was pretty much a parking lot brawl with a bunch of cars surrounding them. It was a really unique setting, almost like one of those cinematic matches. Pretty sure this was the inspiration for that Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream parking lot brawl match on NXT. Cena did fail in his goal of capturing the US title though, losing both of his matches to Eddie. But this wouldn't be the last time we'd see John Cena in the US title picture, we'll get to that later. Cena would then reignite his feud with Kurt Angle, just shy of a year after he made his debut and said that now iconic line. In the build-up to their match at No Mercy, they had a rap battle which turned into a brawl, but Cena was actually owning Angle with the F-bombs before that. Probably the most memorable part of this feud was when Angle came out to the ring dressed up as Cena and started mocking his stuff. This segment was absolute gold. There was no way Angle could have stayed in character the whole time, but he did. What a comedic genius. At No Mercy, Cena would end up losing to Angle, but the two put on a banger. Definitely one of Cena's best matches in his early days. If you've noticed the trend by now, Cena was losing his big matches to the more established vets, but in doing so, he was also getting a good rub as he was putting up great performances every time. At this point, Cena was really over. His freestyle raps were getting good reactions from the fans, and people were finally starting to see that hey, this guy's pretty good. So, WWE did the logical thing and turned him babyface. He would end up joining Team Angle against Team Lesnar in a 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. Team Angle won with John Cena as co-sole survivors alongside Chris Benoit. This was a big win for Cena, and even bigger things were in store for him the following year. If you enjoyed the video, it would really help me a lot if you give it a like and subscribe, as it lets me know that you like this kind of content. 2004 was without a doubt the peak of the Doctor Thuganomics era. Cena's stock had risen significantly post-Survivor Series, and he'd once again set his sights on winning the United States title. But in order to do so, he'd have to overcome a giant hurdle, literally, in the form of the Big Show, who won the title from Eddie at No Mercy the previous year. This feud actually came to be at Royal Rumble 2004. John Cena was one of the final 6 participants until Big Show eliminated him and he landed awkwardly on his leg, tearing his MCL in the process. It was so graphic, WWE kept showing it in those old "Don't Try This at Home" adverts. Remember that? However, this didn't stop Cena from working, and he even showed up on the SmackDown after Rumble, one of the first times we'd see that Super Cena toughness. Fast forward to WrestleMania 20, John Cena and the Big Show opened the show with their US Championship match. Cena came out to a monstrous reaction from the fans. It's crazy how unanimously loved Cena was at this time. Big Show dominated most of the match till Cena made a comeback and hit the FU on the Big Show to become the new United States Champion. The Doctor of Thuganomics finally got his first title in WWE, and a well-deserved one at that. During his title run, Cena would defeat the likes of Booker T, Rob Van Dam, Rene Dupree, and Rhino. Honestly, nothing too memorable came out of his first title reign though, but he'd hold it till July of 2004 when he was stripped of the title by Kurt Angle, who was acting as the GM of SmackDown by then. Booker T would end up winning the vacated title on an 8-man elimination match which also featured Cena. At SummerSlam, John Cena would get a chance to regain his title when he was put in a best-of-5 series against Booker T, which culminated at No Mercy with him winning back the US title. Unfortunately, his second reign wouldn't last long as he was booked to lose it to a debuting Carlito just 2 days later on SmackDown. After this, John Cena took a short break with the real reason being that he was about to start filming for his first major film, The Marine. However, in true kayfabe fashion, WWE wrote Cena off TV with a storyline that's become quite controversial throughout the years. On the following SmackDown, Teddy Long would make an announcement to the entire SmackDown roster that John Cena had been stabbed in the kidney during a melee at a Boston nightclub and would be out of action for several months. Man, if you were a kid back then watching this, the news would have been way more horrible because they really wanted the fans to think that this was real. Carlito was put as one of the main suspects, so to speak, for this incident as he was at the scene of the crime along with his bodyguard Jesus. Apparently, a lot of people found this storyline tasteless because it mirrored the real-life stabbing of a wrestler named Bruiser Brody that happened in 1988. Reports said that Brody was allegedly stabbed to death backstage in Puerto Rico by a wrestler who was working for Carlos Colon, Carlito's father. Even crazier is that this stabbing storyline never really got resolved till John Cena confirmed in a random backstage promo on Raw 2 years later that it was indeed Jesus who stabbed him. Anyway, John Cena would be back with a vengeance after a month, joining Team Eddie against Team Angle at Survivor Series, immediately beating the crap out of Carlito and his goon. On the next SmackDown, Cena would win back his title by defeating Carlito. He would then go on to defend his title against Jesus in a street fight at Armageddon 2004, which he won obviously. It was also at this pay-per-view that Cena would debut the new spinner belt, which fits his character at the time, but thank God this version didn't last that long unlike the WWE Championship. It's 2005 now, and this would be the year John Cena finally broke through as a main event caliber star. Brock Lesnar was long gone at this point, so WWE needed a new top star who would be the face of the brand. On Raw, Batista was that guy, and on SmackDown, it was John Cena. And so began his meteoric rise to the top. After almost winning the Royal Rumble due to that now infamous botch ending, Cena would be put in a feud with JBL, who at the time was one of the longest reigning WWE champions and had built himself up to be like an end-of-level boss. At No Way Out 2005, John Cena beat Kurt Angle in a number 1 contender tournament to earn the right to face JBL for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 21. The build-up to their match was really good. Cena was the complete antithesis of JBL's character. One is a street dog beloved by the fans, and the other is a rich capitalist a-hole. This just made you wanna see JBL get his ass handed to him by Cena even more. During the early stages of their feud, JBL would cost Cena the US title to Orlando Jordan, who was JBL's right-hand man in his faction. After that, they would literally destroy Cena's spinner belt and reintroduce back the old title. JBL just made this feud personal. At one point, Teddy Long made an ultimatum that Cena can't hit JBL until their match at WrestleMania or else he would lose his title shot. However, if JBL hits him first, then he can hit back. So, Cena decided to up the antics and provoke JBL any way he can. He destroyed his limo, poured water in his hat, and ruined his suit. The man was humiliated by Cena. So what did JBL do? The following SmackDown, he got John Cena kayfabe arrested for vandalism and kicked him in the nuts while he was in handcuffs. At WrestleMania, it was finally time for John Cena versus JBL for the WWE Championship. Cena came out to his The Time Is Now song, which he started using a few weeks back. The match itself, well, it didn't really live up to the hype. If you want a full breakdown of the match as well as the entire card, I made a WrestleMania 21 review. You can go check that out after this video. But essentially, after JBL dominated most of the match, Cena made a huge comeback towards the end, hitting the FU and the 1, 2, 3. He's finally done it. Cena is your new WWE champion. It's crazy to think that less than 3 years ago, he was on the chopping block and now he's at the top of the WWE mountain. We then get a nice moment with Cena celebrating amongst the crowd while hoisting the WWE title, which was probably the most memorable part of the entire match. After winning the WWE Championship, Cena would face JBL one final time in an I Quit match at Judgment Day. And then the iconic 2005 draft would take place, where both of the top champions got traded. Cena went to Raw, while Batista went to Friday Night SmackDown. After getting drafted to Raw, he would slowly transition out of his Doctor Thuganomics gimmick and into the John Cena we know and love, or love to hate today. He would go on to have legendary feuds with the likes of Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Edge. In time, this turned him into one of the most polarizing figures in WWE ever. However, through it all, Cena stuck to his guns and remained a babyface, always championing the mantra of hustle, loyalty, and respect. 17 World Championships and nearly 2 decades of collared shirt changes later, Cena has well beyond cemented his legacy as one of, if not the greatest wrestler of all time. Today, the leader of the C Nation has built a name for himself outside of the WWE, using his wrestling fame as a launching pad for a successful career in Hollywood that's only rivaled by the likes of The Rock and Batista. But through it all, it's nice to take a look back at what really kickstarted his success, and that's by once being a wannabe rapper.